In this video, I'm going to teach you how to approach Part 2 questions in IELTS speaking. In this part, you are given a cue card that includes a topic and some prompts regarding that topic. As you know, there are a lot of topics and they are all different. The best way to prepare for IELTS Part 2 topics is to divide them into groups. In this way, you don't need to prepare a different response for each topic. The classification will also help you prepare words, phrases, and stories. These groups are places, people, objects, experiences, events, activities, mass media, nature, work, and if a topic doesn't fit into any of these groups, we classify it as others. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to answer the cue cards focusing on places. Here are the topics related to places from previous exams. These can be divided into some subtopics. For example, you may be given a topic such as describe your favorite restaurant, describe a place that's special to you, describe a crowded place that you have visited recently, etc. For all these topics, you can describe a restaurant. However, you must be careful about the grammar and decide which tense you need to use for each. Here we have 4 topics. Describe a museum you have visited and liked. Describe a popular place in your country. Describe an interesting building, and describe a tourist attraction you enjoyed visiting. You can describe a museum for all these topics. However, in the first and the last ones, you must use past tenses mostly, and for the rest, present tense mostly. Now let's take a look at the prompts. The prompts on the card are guidelines that are optional to follow, although they help you think less about the content and attach more importance to language. Don't panic if you can't answer one or some of them. Focus on the main topic. The first card here asks us to describe a museum, and the second one a tourist attraction. However, a museum can be a great idea for the second card too, that asks us to describe a tourist attraction. Don't stick to prompts. You don't lose any marks as much as you talk about the museum and are careful about the tense that you use. Here are my notes. The tenses I am going to use: past and present, the name of the museum and the city it is in, the person I went with, and what is in the museum. Be careful, your notes should be very short. Don't write phrases and sentences. As you can see, I have divided my notes to 3 parts. In fact, I am going to talk about a museum in 3 parts, as they make using conversation fillers and linking words and phrases easier to use. Here is my response. Well, I guess I could kick off by stating the name of the museum, and I'd like to go for Topkapı Palace Museum, which is so fascinating that you cannot take your eyes off when you go there. Actually, it is located in Istanbul, which is home to a considerable percentage of fascinating museums and historical monuments. Going on to my next point regarding with whom I went there, I should say that I visited this museum a couple of months ago with a regular state school teacher friend of mine. What I think should be added here is that we were totally fascinated by the large collections of porcelain, weapons, Ottoman miniatures, Islamic calligraphic manuscripts, as well as other Ottoman treasures on display. As a final point, I'd like to add that the daily tours of Harem are of great interest to tourists coming to Topkapı from Turkey and around the world. You can add more details to your responses by using adjective clauses. Topkapı Palace Museum, which is so fascinating that you cannot take your eyes off when you go there. Or Istanbul, which is home to a considerable percentage of fascinating museums and historical monuments. This response is typical of a 7+ score because it includes examples of phrasal verbs, idioms, linking words and phrases, conversation fillers, topic-related vocabulary, simple and complex sentences, etc. Here is one more example. Describe a building or construction you saw and which impressed you. My notes include where it is, what it looks like, and what I saw there. Here is the response. Well, I guess I could kick off by stating the name of the building, and I'd like to go for Topkapı Palace Museum, which is so fascinating that I couldn't take my eyes off when I went there last year. Actually, it is located in Istanbul, which is home to a considerable percentage of fascinating museums and historical monuments. Going on my next point regarding what the building looks like, I should say that the palace is an extensive complex rather than a single monolithic structure. Seen from above, the palace grounds are divided into 4 main courtyards, and the harem that includes more than 300 rooms, 9 baths, 2 mosques, a hospital, wards, and laundry adorned with Kütahya and Iznik tiles. As a final point, I'd like to add that I was totally fascinated by the large collections of porcelain, weapons, Ottoman miniatures, Islamic calligraphic manuscripts, as well as other Ottoman treasures on display. You can see that I have used ideas, phrases, idioms, linking phrases and words, etc. from the previous answer. Do the same too. You don't need to memorize hundreds of idioms or phrasal verbs. Only a couple of them are more than enough for each group. When you want to talk about the beauty of a place you have been, you can say, I couldn't take my eyes off, for example. Now it's your turn. Answer these 2 speaking part 2 cue cards. Don't forget, the more you practice, the easier it gets. You can share your responses in the comment. In the next video, I'm going to give you more examples. See you soon.